to our kids about how to save money, but no one talks to them about how to build an audience. I'd like to dive into that today. I'll go through kind of my past vision vibes on that, current, like my present, what I'm thinking about right now, and then the future of it, because it's a very controversial topic about, allowing our kids to be on YouTube, whether that's watching YouTube or being on TikTok or being on social media, at what age, all these things. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have all the answers. I'm just going to tell you what I'm doing for our family. And it could be that I get some of this wrong. But I'd like to really think about it as not just how can they have access to educate themselves, but the flip side of that is, if they want to, building an audience. Because as we know, if we think about like what are the highest leverage things that we can have, right? Money, obviously we know that money allows us to buy different things, exchange it for services, etc., etc. We know that knowledge, education is extremely important, extremely invaluable, because it helps us to level up. It helps us to just elevate everything that we do. We know that getting our kids excited about something, a passion, falling in love with something that they can dedicate themselves to, we encourage all of that. But I think it's still such a touchy, controversial topic about if you let your kid build an audience, or how do you navigate that? Because an audience, if we want to think about business, and again, we're thinking about as they grow up, as they move, as they do, and none of this is like you have to do this. This is like, if you want to build a YouTube channel, the question, because this comes up as a kid, like, hey dad, can I build a YouTube channel? And at first it's all like, no, no, no. And then as I've started to think and gone through this with my kids, it's shifted. So let me just kind of tell you my past, like, kind of vibes, and then we'll navigate through. So I think initially I was on YouTube, I think 2015, and this is kind of like 2014, 2015. This is kind of like the Casey Neistat era, where it was very cool to vlog your life, okay, to show your day-to-day, the people in your life, all that different stuff. And there was always, the question was like, what was too much? What was too much sharing? How do I share my life while also respecting the privacy of people around me? I personally think that I went a little too far, right? I think I shared too much, right? I look back at videos and I'm like, ugh. I'm like, you do that kind of like, ooh. But I do think I learned a lot in that time, and how, like, what you can share and what you can't share, because there's certain boundaries, right? You can take a camera, right? You can take a camera, you can record raw, not raw as in like the thing, but you can just record. But before you upload, you have an editing process. And so you can have guidelines about, and this might be talking just about content in general, about, what to share, what not to share. Like, so this kind of comes back to us as well as parentpreneurs. You have an ability to vet and cut things. You literally can keep all the other stuff. Like me recording our delivery, our labor for Laura. There's certain parts obviously that we don't want to share, but they're also there for the home videos, that are just private. So you take all the footage, the raw footage, you take it in and you cut out all the stuff that doesn't need to be in there, that you do not want to share. And then what people see on the other side of this is just more of a polished, a cleaned up version of what your life maybe is. And that's okay. I think that's completely fine. Me and Laura, we had kind of a couple of different guidelines about like what, like if she was in the videos, she would want to see the video, the full cut, before I released it. And the same goes for like, okay, like, and this is the past. So it's like I've evolved from how I think about like sharing, but the question is like, well, what do we share of our kids? What don't we share of our kids? Like, how do we go about doing that? Because you want to respect their privacy. You want to respect like, but you also don't like want to be like, I don't have kids. So it's such a weird one to balance. And I kind of came to the decision back then, which it was, I want the vlog to be, around my life. And if it, happens to be that I'm hanging out at the zoo with my kiddos, great. There might be some clips there, but it's not like me focused on a kid, and they are the YouTube star. Because you'll see a lot of this in like YouTube world, like Ryan's world, stuff like that, where it's like the kid themselves are the star, and it feels as though the parents are like making money off the kids. And I don't think that that's okay at all, right? And I don't think that was okay back then, and I still don't like now. I'm trying to stay in wheel past, so I don't bring my present beliefs in it. I knew for sure that's not where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. I wanted to make a vlog about my life, and I'm a dad and a father, so it made sense that like kids would be part of that. But I also wanted to make sure I balanced out that, I'm not sharing too much or whatever. I still think I share too much. Like I said, I think I still share too much. And so when you have a camera, around the house all the time, and you're making YouTube videos, eventually in time, whether you are making videos or, getting on YouTube Kids or getting on YouTube, whatever, the kids start asking and seeing these channels and like, wait, can I be a YouTuber? Can I get on here? And my thing was always defer to the future. Someday, somehow, it'll, whenever you get old enough, we'll cross that bridge when it comes. And so that was good for several years. Just chilling and hanging and vibing. And then my kids got a little bit older, and Duncan always hits, and they wanted to get on YouTube Kids. I remember they wanted to get on YouTube Kids. They wanted to get on Roblox, right? These things as parents, it's so hard because like this is now access to the world where you're like, fuck, you're like, once I open this door, it's going to be very hard for a comeback from that. And so I was against Roblox for quite a long time. YouTube Kids, they branded it well. They said YouTube Kids. I'm like, it's not YouTube, but it's YouTube Kids. Okay, no worries. We got on YouTube Kids, and there was definitely some weird stuff there. But Eden and King, they didn't really navigate to the weird stuff. They were vibing and had their own kind of things that they navigated to, but it wasn't too bad. And so YouTube Kids, was fine in our household. Now, Maverick and Titan, on the other hand, they would get themselves in trouble all of the time on YouTube Kids. There's a lot of stuff that just is on YouTube that then passes for YouTube Kids that is not okay. Like doing really crazy, weird stuff. And we'd catch them kind of like watching this stuff. So we had to actually do it based on kid. Eden and King, for whatever reason, they didn't fall down the rabbit hole of weird things and being obsessed by these weird things and then like wanting to go do. They didn't have that. But our Titan and Maverick did. And so even to this day, YouTube Kids is not an app that we use in the house, at least for the littles. And then came like we said, like Roblox. That was a tough one because now you have like your chatting online. There's like abilities to chat online. You have all these different people. And again, these are more and more like concerns as a parent, like as you're like, what's too far, what's not too far. Again, Eden and King were pretty fine with Roblox. I don't know what the difference was, but they were chill. They didn't do anything too crazy. And I guess again, like it's like maybe a kid by kid type of thing. But Titan and Maverick, bro, they would go crazy. And I think a lot of some of this stuff is maybe being impressionable. Like if you see something, you're very impressionable. And then you have like your phone, like you have mom and dad's phone, and like you hand them your phone, and then you find them on YouTube, and then YouTube Shorts is just crazy, right? Because they scroll a couple times, see something crazy, and then it just keeps on reinforcing. So this was like past, us going through this, and so I had a very mixed feelings about our kids actually being on YouTube. And then also being on certain games, like you have like Xbox and PlayStation, where you have different games that are connected to the world. So I think another year goes by, something along those lines, and we get I finally get them set up on a PC, okay, and we had all the different games, and they get on the PC, Eden and King specifically, and they start wanting to learn how to use the PC. Well, guess what? How do we learn in today's age? YouTube, right? And they had proven that they were okay with YouTube Kids. They had proven that they were okay not to do crazy stuff on like these live games. And so at this point, we're working on kind of spelling and stuff like that. But I had Alexa set up in the room. Again, a whole nother controversial thing. And they would use Alexa to say, "Hey Alexa, how do I download Steam?" Or how do I spell Steam, right? And then they would go to YouTube, and I'd give them a heads up, like, "Hey, don't go down a crazy," because like YouTube Kids, there's certain things you just can't go to. You can't get to certain places. Sometimes you can't search, like, and so it was another one we crossed, like, ooh, going into YouTube, there's some crazy stuff on YouTube. But they seem to do fine. They seem to do kind of fine. They started looking up how to install Steam, how to install these emulators, all this stuff, and then all of a sudden YouTube actually became an asset to their development. I'm going to get to building an audience, in the present, but this is just my past experience with like that online social with kids, and trying to figure that out and trying to kind of navigate that. I think there definitely was like a moment in time where like they were getting on YouTube Shorts and going down that rabbit hole, and we had to kind of like pull it back, like, hey, we will delete YouTube if you go down, if you do this. And so what I finally realized, as they continue to get better and better and better at like just figuring out how to download games on the PC and play these games and look up tutorials, is like, because a lot of kids, they want to watch gameplay, because they watch the gameplay and then they're able to then beat the mission or beat the thing, which is great. By the way, games are vibes. I continue to see more and more pros of YouTube versus cons of YouTube, at least for my kids. And if you think about me, like, that's, if I need to learn something, I'll go to YouTube. If I need to learn something, I'll go to ChatGPT. If I need to learn something, I'll go and read a book. Those are really our big things. And yes, there are people, mentors, the parents, whatever, that have a little bit of knowledge, but truly, like, we don't have that much knowledge. We're out working all the time. Like, we have knowledge to pass on, but how do I install Steam? Like, I don't know. I just as much as you. So I'm gonna have to look it up just the same as you, and I know how to find the answers. Anyways, so it continued to be a better and better thing for them. They'd listen to all these gameplay videos. They started to find like YouTubers they cared about, all that type of stuff. Again, the little still are not, they cannot get on YouTube. They just are not at that level. So I do think you have to gauge this. Like, because we tried and then we had to pull it back a little bit. But our older two have shown that they can be on there without, you know, going crazy and doing crazy stuff. Now, I'm going to pull this into the present. Okay, so let's chapter 2, present. So there's this thing that everyone's heard of called ChatGPT, right? That came out a few years ago, and I spent a whole year diving deep into ChatGPT. I use it every single day, multiple times a day, and I realized, like, this is the next level. Because originally Google would be the place to go. But then there's YouTube. And if you think about it, for kids, they'll press the voice icon on the phone and say, hey, show me gameplay of Need for Speed. They do that on YouTube. It's the same thing as Google, but with videos, and they get there quicker. So Google's like, kind of like, yes, we still use Google in a sense, but YouTube's really like the search engine. And obviously we know that Google and YouTube are all the same thing. But then now there's this thing called ChatGPT that is very good about contextual information. And so I started to, as they start to want to play more games and figure out things, I was able to introduce and say, hey, I don't know half of this stuff, but I'm willing to bet that we can figure this out on ChatGPT. Because what happens is ChatGPT can give you how to, but it also can give you videos that are, of course, linked back to YouTube. And so me and King would do this a lot. Eden vibed out and kind of did his own thing and chilled for a little bit, but me and King, we dived a little bit deeper and deeper and deeper on ChatGPT. So not only am I introducing YouTube as this educational tool, but ChatGPT is now also, because it has a button where you can press read and listen. Even if you have a hard time like reading all the words, you can literally listen and hear it. And so we combine those two. And then King, said, Dad, I really want to start a YouTube channel just like you. And I had a talk with the wifey, and I said, they both really want to start a YouTube channel about like the gameplay, the stuff that they're doing. Like, what are our bounds here? Like, what are the boundaries to starting a channel? So that we can do our best to keep them safe and do that stuff. And me and her, we both agreed initially, no talking in the videos, no faces in the videos. If it's just like pretty much the game being recorded, right? Let's say you're recording, I don't know, any sort of gameplay, you don't hear the kid, and you also don't see the kid. So we feel as though that's a pretty good starting point. And that was a really good starting point. They made a lot of videos on their phone. We taught them how to do the screen recording thing, and then also cut out the front of it and the back of it so that you don't see like the whatever. We also taught them how to set up, they actually did it themselves. They figured out themselves how to set up OBX, I think it's the streaming tool, to be able to record like the computer screen and pretty much make videos. I taught them how to upload the videos, taught them how to title them. Then we ended up getting into Canva and learning how to make thumbnails, which was cool. And then guess what happened? They started getting views on their videos, which is a whole nother controversial moment where it's like, they're like excited about the views, but they're like, well, maybe I need to make that same thing again to get that same amount of views. And now you're down the rabbit hole of like, do this for fun, maybe not for the views, but the views are important because it does encourage, like, you're straddling that thing. These are the things that we go through as parents, at least I've gone through as a parent, with like the digital realm and social media. And so I told them, like, yo, just make the videos that you want to do. Like, you guys are already doing this. And also, by the way, you don't have to make a video. If at any point you don't want to make a video, don't make a video. If you want to make a video, great, make a video. The big rule is like no voices, no faces in the thing. in your gameplay videos. So that was like phase one. They did great with that, crushed it. And then, I think like half a year probably went by or something like that, and King's like, I really want to like talk in my videos. And then I had to have that talk with Laura too, where it's like, do we let our kids like talk in their videos? And then like you also have like the background, right? What if mom and dad are like arguing in the background and they're like making a gameplay video and then they're trying to talk, like all the things in it until you go between that, because like, or what if they say something they're not supposed to say? Because at the end of the day, you're probably not going to have the time to vet all these videos. At the rate that kids make videos, you work as a parent. So this is another one of those levels where you're like, if we introduce the option of audio into this, that creates a whole nother thing. Because like before I was like, if there's audio, that means that I need to review this, because I need to make sure that, one, you're not giving our address away, and two, you're not saying anything too crazy, and all that stuff. But I realized I don't, as much as I would like to think that I have all the time in the world, I don't, and how important it is. And so it's like, at first it was like, you guys make these videos, and if you talk in them, then put them in a backlog, and then later I'll review them, and then I'll upload them. And that became such a huge friction, because I never got to them, and it would take weeks and months and whatever to even get to any of the stuff. And so it was more about like having that next level conversation with the kids, like, hey, listen, I think we can figure out a way for you to talk in your videos, but here goes kind of the rules, right? And every now and again I'll check in, like I need to check in and make sure we're not saying anything crazy or doing anything whatever, but like, this is very important. These are the reasons why we don't say X or Y or Z or fight on our videos or any, like all the little things that you might go through. And they, yes, got it, Dad, cool, vibes. And again, like I said, this is the current state of a lot of this stuff. And so I don't, I can't tell you if this is all going to work out perfect and wonderful and great. I'm sure there's going to be some sort of things that I have to deal with, but it's also being able to read another problem that I see, that's a whole thing, is like being able to read comments, like, so they can make the videos and talk in them. And then if you have people across the internet commenting or saying weird stuff or bad stuff, that's a whole thing too, right? And so all of this has its pros and its cons, and everyone, you might be like, this doesn't make any sense. They can't get on YouTube. They can't make videos for YouTube. They can't do any of that, right? But where I'm coming to realize is that this is the same stuff that we talk about with money, with, going outside and being safe. There are a lot of boundaries that we have to set. And there's also a lot of trust that we kind of give to our kids. And so like, we're doing our best to help them navigate this stuff. And there will be things that probably occur. Like, bullying at school and stuff like that. There are things that I don't want to say they're outside of your control, but things that happen, and then it's how you respond and how we go about doing those things. So they have now started making YouTube videos with their voices. They got a little mic, little whatever. And like King's channel is like 303 subscribers right now. I think like 90 something hours of watch time. Eden is vibing out. He's like literally, like, he's all into like history. And so like, these things are things that they care deeply about. They're going to do it anyways. And kind of coming to the crux of this entire conversation, audience, okay? In business, like, without an audience, without people there, very hard to do anything. And I think that, again, like I said, controversial, if our kids want to be YouTubers or want to build an audience and grow and make that happen. A lot would probably say you need to be 18 to do that, can't do that, all that stuff. And do what you do, because I definitely have had these conversations back and forth. But I don't actually think that there's any specific harm right now in allowing my kids to grow an audience. And what's amazing about them growing an audience is like they have 10 years if they want to. Again, if they say, I don't really want to do this, that's you vibe, do your thing, bro. But if giving them the opportunity of, if they want to do this and build out an audience, they have 10 years of time and uploads and videos and gameplay and whatever it is that they're doing to build this stuff out. And by the time they're 18, they'll have had a 10-year head start on one of the most critical things that most people struggle to do, which is build an actual audience. Building an actual audience means that you can, of course, monetize. It means that you can, if you want to, you can have sponsorships. If you want to, you can sell merch. If you want to, all these different things you could have the opportunities to. They could have automatically those opportunities to be able to do that stuff if they so want. And they're at that age right now where it's like literally when you get to freshman year at 14, like it's like figure out what you want to do, pick a major. So they're at an age where they're getting in tune with what they already know what they want to do. And so I'm just being the backbone, supporting them in their journey. I'm sure there's still things that will occur that I need to figure out. But by 18, let's just say they have 100,000 subscribers, 1 million subscribers. The next question might be, and this is future casting because I have no clue, okay? So we're gonna kind of go into chapter 3. The future of this is like, okay, well, what happens when they do get to a point where their channel has grown so much that now they're getting monetized? Where does that money go? How is that taken care of? And I wholly believe, I again, future casting here, but like, if you've grown the channel and you've done the work and you've put in the hours, like that's like your money, right? So that would be put aside into like a account or something like for them to use. And then like, because think about it, you have to be 18 to like you just start out like your career at 18 and like it's crazy that you can literally jumpstart or head start yourself and based off of what you actually want to do. This is not like go work at Zaxby's and whatever. This is just like, if you want to play games and vibe out and hang out and chill and do your thing, by all means do that. If you don't, that's completely fine. Don't do that. But they're just into it. They love it. Makes them feel good. And I can see them, like from what I've realized, if you go back to my last video about don't start a service-based business, we're teaching our kids about making money and why paying bills is important and all this stuff. And no one's talking about why building an audience is so important. Like they see it online, they understand that like, oh, this person has 1 million subscribers. They're like, kids know it. They recognize like the value of sub count, but no one's really talking about like how that actually fits into like maybe the real world. And I think that might be a discussion to have. Again, I know that this is like crazy controversial, and not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm just at it where like my kids are wanting to be game developers or wanting to be on YouTube and wanting to, play history games. And I'm just there to kind of support them. Hopefully I can be the boundaries, the walls or whatever to help them. And I may get some of this wrong, but we're having fun with it. We're vibing out. Anyways, what are your thoughts about like allowing your kid to grow an audience? Like what can they do? What can't they do? Where do you draw the line? When do you encourage it? Love to know your thoughts in the comments. Because I know at 36, I'm 36. starting to build an audience. Like, imagine if someone pulled me to the side and helped me understand the value of that, if I so chose to want that path and wanted to like grow and do that and incur, like, that'd be what, how many years? 26 years of a jump start. Like, I'm literally just starting it out right now, and it's massive. It's massively powerful. The leverage, the freedom that you have, it's crazy. All right, that's all I got for today. Hopefully it gave you something to think about. Should I allow my kids to build an audience on YouTube in 2025? And like, that's my question for you. All right, take care, guys. Peace.